evening, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar. My name is Diksha, and I will be your host for this event. We are excited to have you all here today to learn about inquiry cycle for grade 3 to 5. The event will follow the same instruction as before. We'll put everyone on mute except for our speaker to avoid any disruptions. We will disable the chat, so please write down all your questions. And at the end, we will have a 10 minutes of questionnaire session. Then we'll enable the chat for everyone. So the session is being recorded and which will be uploaded to our YouTube channel. So please stay until the end. As we all know, there is a 5 minutes of assessment that must be completed in order for you to obtain your certificate for this webinar. Thank you so much. And over to you, Ms. Pragya. Pragya ma'am, please unmute yourself.
Thanks, Diksha, for the warm introduction. I welcome you all and let's begin. Inquiry has become the buzzword after the NCF document was released. I hope you all are aware and acquainted with the term inquiry, as the I in SMILE curriculum continuously focuses upon the inquiry-based learning. Today, we are going to unpack the phases of inquiry through SMILE EVS. Okay. So first of all, I have a picture for you guys. So you need to observe these two pictures and tell me, what do you see in these two pictures? How can you differentiate between the two pictures? You can write down your answers, note down your answers in the chat and share. So there are two pictures being displayed on the screen. So how can you differentiate between the two pictures, or what do you see in these two pictures? Are these two pictures same or are they different? Yes, anyone? Okay, I have some answers here. They are different. Practical learning. So which one is practical learning? Picture 1 or picture 2? One picture shows the involvement of the children, involvement of students, mode of teaching is different, activity-based learning. Okay, so if we notice these two pictures, if we try to differentiate between these two pictures, the first picture where we can see that the teacher is teaching something on the board, it shows the traditional way of teaching methodology. While as in the second picture, if we will see, the students and teachers are equally involved, or there is equal participation from both the ends. So this is an activity based learning, or we can say this is the inquiry based learning. So the main difference between these two teaching methodologies is traditional learning focuses on learning about things. It focuses upon what, while as inquiry based learning, it focuses upon learning things. It focuses upon how. Okay. Now I have a small activity for you guys where you need to sort the things out. We will be doing this activity on the Nearpod. So Miss Akita, can you please share the link in the chat box?
Yes, I'm just sharing it.
Yes, yes.
You can also scan the QR code through your phone, or you can click on the link on the chat.
So we are doing this activity on the Nearpod. So what are you supposed to do here? You need to copy this link and it will take you to the Nearpod page and you need to log in there. You need to just sign in there. So are you guys able to access? So what you need to do for this activity, there are given two modes of learning. There are given some pointers which either shows the traditional methodology of learning or it shows the inquiry based learning. So you need to drag and drop the pointers to the respective columns depending upon your understanding of the both. So are you guys able to do this activity on the Nearpod? Can you please write down in the chat box, yes or no? No. So what is the issue you are facing? Miss Akita, can you please help them out? See, once you open the link, it will take you to page like this. Are you not able to open this?
Akita,
Nobody?
you can assist now.
Yes, sure, sir.
Sorry, can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
So when you click on that link, it will first ask you to log in, right? Once you've done that, you'll be shown this page, what Pragya ma'am is showing you. And you have to drag and drop. Basically, for example, mastery of content
You need to drag and drop like this.
under the correct column. And once you are done, please click on submit, but do not log out or do not close this window as we'll be needing it for the further for the next activities.
Okay, what you need to do, you need to read the pointers that we have mentioned there, and you have to drag and drop them to the respective columns. So we have two columns there. One is the traditional way of learning, and another one is the inquiry-based learning. So which pointer you think fits into the inquiry-based learning that you will drop there? You need to drag and drop it. It's simple. So sort the ideas under correct header.
Ma'am, the heading is not being shown. I'm not able to see the heading. First one, can you please tell me what is the first one?
So there would be a small arrow near the heading or right under the instruction. You can click on that and you'll be able to see the headings of the.
Okay, ma'am. Okay. Okay, traditional way of mastery of content, less emphasis on the development. Mastery of content, less emphasis was traditionalist. Teacher centered was this. Student receivers of information.
Please mute yourself. So are you guys able to do it now?
Mhm.
So has anyone completed it? Submitted, submitted. Okay. So let me share my. Okay. So if I will see that under traditional methods of teaching, so under traditional methods of teaching, the focus is on learning the content, and there is less emphasis on the development of skills, while as in case of in case of inquiry based learning, the more focus is upon the skill development, the more focus is upon the application of that knowledge that we are imparting to the children. So the traditional method is teacher centered, students are the receivers of information, and the teacher is as a dispenser. Whatever knowledge the teacher has, he just tells everything to their students. Okay, under traditional method, there is more emphasis on what we know rather than how we came to know. So under traditional method, the major focus of the teacher is to prepare their children for the good grades. They do not prepare their children for the lifelong learning. While as under inquiry based learning, we want our learners to be lifelong learners, so that whatever we are teaching them, they are able to apply that knowledge and they are able to retain that knowledge throughout their life. Okay. So why do you think there is a need for inquiry? Our today's session is about inquiry cycle, right? So my question to you guys is, why do you think that as a teachers, why do you think you need to have inquiry in your classroom? What is inquiry according to you? Okay, any answers? Practical knowledge gives better understanding. Okay. To build interest, curiosity to know, exploration, critical thinking. Okay, what else? Learning by discovering, questioning. Okay. Inquiry, when this is a very common answer that I get. Whenever we hear the word inquiry, the first thing that comes into our mind is inquiry is asking questions. But inquiry is much more than just asking questions. Inquiry is about what learners do, and it involves numerous skills, processes, disposition, etc. Inquiry, it is a fluid and messy process. The whole intention of doing the inquiry with the children is to guide the thinking capacity of the learners and the teachers beyond. And we assist the students to move from the known to unknown, and we engage them in a fruitful dialogue. Okay. So the inquiry cycle that we follow is by Keith Murdoch. Keith Murdoch was a classroom teacher in Melbourne, whose interest in teaching learners in the experiential and application-based manner led to the formulation of this six-stage cycle, which is your inquiry cycle. So this inquiry cycle, it looks like circular, but we can work in the inquiry cycle in a linear fashion also. It means I can start with the tuning in, then I can go to sorting out also. It is not necessary that we have to follow all the steps at the same time. Okay. And the most important thing while doing the inquiry with the learners is the framing the inquiry, and in our language, in simple language, I can say that the writing the learning objectives. The learning objective for our session, whatever we are teaching to our learners, the learning objective should be very clear? Okay. So when I say inquiry-based learning is more than asking a student what he or she knows. It is triggering curiosity in the learners. We want our children to be inquisitive. We want them to be curious so that they are able to analyze, they are able to think in a critical way, and triggering curiosity in the learners is much more complex than content delivery. If I'm teaching a concept to the children, it is not that difficult because I have that knowledge and I'm going to tell. For example, I'm teaching water cycle. I will tell all the stages of the water cycle. But if I have to teach my child being inquisitive, I need to frame some questions that will trigger that curiosity in the learners. I need to ask my children, why does evaporation happen? Why does evaporation happen when water boils? So something like this, which will raise the curiosity in the learner. Okay. So when I say smile is the Smile EVS, the book which is based upon the inquiry cycle. It is you can find all the components, all the stages of the inquiry cycle in the book itself. So we have all the stages being covered in the EVS Smile book. So when I talk about EVS is the pivot of the Smile curriculum. It has total of 9 themes, and based upon the 9 themes, we have centered all our subjects like English, Math, ICT. All the subjects have been aligned as per the themes that we have given in EVS. Okay. So the 9 themes that we have in EVS is all about me, people, places, and safety. Under all about me, we are talking about human body, feelings, emotions, family, relationships. Then under people, places, and safety, we are talking about neighborhood, places in the neighborhood, community helpers, school, monuments. Then under food we eat, we are talking about types of food, components of food, sources of food, then balanced diet, deficiency diseases. So everything related to the food gets covered under food we eat. Then under world of animals, we are talking about animals, types of animals, their habitats, their adaptations. Then comes the world of plants. The world of plants talks about different types of plants, parts of a plant, uses of plants, medicinal benefits of plants, then adaptations in plants, different habitats where plants are found, seed germination, reproduction in plants. Then comes water and air. This theme, as from the name, it talks about the water, the percentage of water on the earth, the forms of water. Then it talks about different states of matter, air pollution, water pollution. Then under theme on the go, as from the logo, you can see that we can see an aeroplane, a ship, a train. So this theme is about the transport and communication. Then under wonderful world, we are talking about different landforms, Earth, we are talking about planets, everything that is present around us, we talk in this theme about it. Then we have things we make and do. This theme is based upon the things that human made things, I will say that. So like we have simple machines, we have clothes, we have houses under this theme. So these are the total 9 themes that we are covering across all the grades. Okay. And the main concepts I already discussed with you. EVS, we have science and social science. Okay. Based upon the NCF document that is guided by NEP 2020, in our SMILE curriculum, we try to inculcate all the 4 C skills that NEP focuses upon. That is your communication, collaboration, critical thinking, and creativity. So while doing the chapter, like in our today's session also, you will be able to see all these 4 skills getting assessed at every level. Okay, then the focus is upon the life skills as well as the digital skills also. We are trying to inculcate all the skills into our learners. Okay, so now let's unpack the phases of inquiry through EVS chapter physical and chemical changes. So before going to the main chapter, let's understand what inquiry is about. Okay. So the main thing about the inquiry is, or the first thing, or the first step that is required in this inquiry cycle is planning. So can anyone tell me what do I mean by planning, or what is planning? Or how do you plan your classes, or how do you plan a chapter? What do you do? You can write your steps in the chat box. I hope I'm clear. My question is previous knowledge. My question is, why do we need planning, or what is planning, or how do we plan our chapters? How do we plan the content that we want to teach? Okay, now let me read the comments. I can see that previous knowledge, teaching aids, related videos, activities, things related to students, deciding in advance, introduction of the topic, previous knowledge. Okay, all this is right. I'm looking for one particular word which is the prerequisite for planning. Correlate students with previous knowledge, learning objectives. Yes. The first step in planning is to frame the inquiry or write the learning object. Writing the learning object is an essential part of knowing the content and how to reach it. See, we will do the prior learning, we will plan the activities, we will do everything at the later stage. But first, initially, first thing what we need to do is we need to write the learning objective. And for writing the learning objective, what I need to do, I need to refer to the syllabus so that I can plan the activities. I can then frame that particular learning objective, and I can make cross-curricular links. Okay. Now, when I say planning, planning is of two types. It is a twofold process: planning ahead and planning backwards. And this planning backwards, it helps us to audit the curriculum as we proceed further. Okay. So can anyone tell me what will come under planning ahead and what will come under planning backwards? Or how, do you practice this habit of planning ahead and planning backwards in your classroom teaching? Okay, so my question is, what is planning ahead and what is planning backwards? A very simple. I'm just asking what it is, or if you do it, how you do it, or what do you understand by these two terms, planning ahead and planning backwards? Any answers? Learning objectives, previous knowledge. Okay, planning ahead is learning objectives, previous knowledge. Which one is this? Planning ahead or planning backwards? Okay, can anyone tell me what is planning backwards? Planning backward means previous knowledge. For planning backward, previous knowledge. Planning backwards is not previous knowledge. No idea. Anybody? Okay. So let me unfold these two types of plannings which is required for your classroom. Recapitulation, planning with chapter, planning ahead, ask the questions, recapitulation. Okay. So when I say planning ahead involves 4 to 5 steps. The first step is syllabus and cross-curriculum links. Once we start to recognize, once we know what our syllabus is and we recognize the cross-curriculum links. What is cross-curriculum links? How I am going to integrate it with other subjects. Okay. So first of all, what I need to do, I need to see what objectives in this particular chapter I need to address. What are my learning objectives? Second is, what are the cross-curriculum links addressed in this unit? Okay. It is nothing but cross-curriculum links is your integration of other subjects. What opportunities are there for harnessing other key learning areas to build a broader picture of a learning? If I am teaching one concept, maybe I am teaching about digestive system. So other KLAs, what it will be? If I'm talking about digestive system and a person is not able to digest the food properly, so I will try to find out what are the reasons, what type of food he is eating. So in this way, I am asking question which evokes the critical thinking of the learners. It means I am trying to, after teaching a particular concept, I am trying to go ahead one step and make connection with other concepts also. So once we try to relate it with other key learning areas or with other subjects, we begin to see that much more higher order thinking is happening in the classroom. The children are able to analyze, they are able to apply their knowledge, and we can see that they are able to answer the higher order thinking questions. Okay. After planning ahead, we have the second point that we have is after curriculum and cross-curricular links. Next one we have is knowledge, understanding, and skills. So under knowledge, understanding and skills, what comes? What key content do I want my students to know and understand? It means if I am teaching a particular chapter, what are the different things I want? Because whatever I am teaching, there are so many things that will come under one chapter to teach, but I need to understand at that particular level or at that particular grade, depending upon the students also, what kind of content or what kind of activities I am planning for them, or what skills should be developed through this particular unit, okay, or through this particular activity, and what are the key concepts that are getting embedded through this particular learning objective or inquiry. Okay, next is key inquiry questions. Key inquiry questions is basically your probing questions. So what probing questions I need to explore and why these questions are important. So if I will see that probing questions, it helps us to map out the big ideas of the concept, and it helps us to examine the key concepts, the concepts that are present, because we are asking the probing questions through which we are trying to elicit their previous knowledge also, and we are trying we are making our children to think in a critical way and come up with an answer to a question. Okay. And after that, assessment, which is a very important part. Under assessment, we plan how I am going to assess my children, how I am going to plan my assessments for as and off throughout the learning process, and what products of learning, what tools I am using, how I am going to assess their knowledge, how I am going to assess their understanding, how I am going to assess their skills, and how I am going to assess their thinking. So for all these four things, we need to do assessments in different way. How I am going to do the skill development, maybe by giving them some activity where they are doing it on their own and then they are presenting it. So their creativity, their collaboration, critical thinking, communication, all these activities will be checked upon. Then if I have to assess their thinking skills, so I'm giving them maybe a think aloud question where they have to use their critical thinking, they have to use their analysis skill, and then they have to come up with the answer. Or if I have to check their knowledge and understanding, maybe I'm giving them to draw something, or maybe I'm giving them to do a write-up. Okay, and if I talk about the three types of assessment, that is assessment for, as, and of, it is happening throughout the chapter, throughout our EVS chapters. I will be talking about it later. Okay, so next is the feedback. So feedback is a very important point. So as teachers, as facilitators, you need to decide how you are going to give feedback to the children so that they can reflect upon that feedback for their improvement. Okay, so this was about planning ahead. So in planning ahead, what we do, we see our syllabus, we make links, we plan assessments, then we give feedback to the children. So when I say planning backwards, so planning backwards is if I have a learning objective, in the end I check whatever learning objective I had, was I able to cover that learning objective? What are the things I plan to cover? What are the activities I plan to cover? Was I able to cover all those activities? If yes, how? If no, why not? What were the gaps that I faced and why those gaps were there? So this is what planning backwards is. So planning backwards helps us as teachers or as facilitators to reflect upon our teaching, so that whatever we are planning for our children, whatever skills we want our children to develop, as a teacher, was I able to fulfill all that or not? What is the reason? Where I was lacking? How I should improve it? So all these things are required. Okay. So next comes the importance of essential or probing questions. We already spoke about this essential or probing questions. Now I will give you a simple example here. Okay. So if if I will ask my children what is natural disaster, and on the other hand, I will ask my children how do natural disasters impact people and the environment, which one do you think will make a more impact on them, or which one will evoke their critical thinking? My first question is, what are natural disasters? This is question number one. What are natural disasters? Question number two is, how do natural disasters impact people and the environment? So what do you think, which will have more impact? Second. So if you are saying second, why? Please give a reason along with that. Why? Question number two. Why? How do natural disasters impact people and the environment? Why not natural disasters? What are natural disasters? Anyone? It gives more knowledge because it needs a critical thinking. Yes. So natural disasters, the question, what are natural disasters? It is a broad concept. It is not specific. So natural disasters, it can be a good context for scientific inquiry. But when we are using a compelling question like how do natural disasters impact people and the environment, it shifts the focus from the content to the concept. How natural disasters impact people and the environment. Maybe the children, they might have seen some videos on the TV, or they might have experienced any earthquake or anything, any floods. So they will be able to relate, they will be able to recall that and relate the experience and then comprehend their understanding. Okay, so this is how, this is why your essential or probing questions are important. Okay. So next is unpacking the phases of inquiry. So you can see that we have 5 phases of inquiry. And during these 5 phases of inquiry, the evaluation forms a very important part, because evaluation is happening at each and every stage in the inquiry cycle, right from the beginning, which is tuning in. So tuning in is basically to activate the prior knowledge of the learners and make their thinking visible, because once the thinking of the learners is visible, it helps as a teacher to plan our lessons in a better way, because we know what are the misconceptions my child has, what are the misconceptions they are holding, what are their understanding, what is the level of their understanding. And how we do this tuning in? We do this tuning in with the help of provocations like images, some videos, maybe some activity. Okay, so this tuning in section, it helps to unlock the curiosity of the learners. Is it clear? Any question here? So tuning in is to check the prior knowledge of the learner. Then next is finding out. Finding out is the process of involving students, where we let them gather information, we let them research, and then we engage them in some discussions where they discuss about their thinking, they share their thinking with each other. Okay, then comes sorting out. In sorting out, once they have understood a particular chapter, a particular topic, or a particular lesson, what they are doing, they are now able to make sense out of what they have learned. They are able to analyze. So whatever discoveries or whatever their understanding is, they are able to share it with others in a clearer manner. Then they are able to make meanings and connections. They are able to notice some patterns or some trends, and or in nutshell I can say that they are able to understand the concept in a deeper way. Okay, after that we have going further. So this finding out and sorting out, these two stages are facilitated mainly by the teacher. So the teacher is guiding the children here. While as in going further, the teacher is now giving onus or the responsibility to the students. So the teacher is just providing them with an activity or the steps of that activity. Now the teacher is expecting the learners to deep dive into the concept and do that on their own. So under going further session, maybe we are giving an activity and we are just telling them what to do, but we are not telling them how to do. How to do, they need to explore. Okay, after going further, the last one is reflecting and acting. So under reflecting and acting, whatever students have learned, they reflect upon their learning, and we plan different activities for that, so that the understanding of the children is visible. So whatever they have learned, they are able to apply that to some other area. They are able to create something new. So this is the inquiry cycle. So what are the 5 stages? Tuning in to check the prior knowledge, finding out to gather information, research, participate in discussions, share their understanding. Under sorting out what the children, they are able to analyze, they are able to make meanings, they are able to see the patterns or the trends. Then under going further, they are able to do things on their own up to an extent. But under reflecting and acting, they are reflecting upon their learning. They are taking the feedback from the teacher and they are acting upon that feedback. Say, for example, if someone is not able to say, for example, we are doing a science experiment. Okay, someone is not able to handle the test tubes or whatever we are using. They are not able to do it properly. So the teacher is giving him a feedback, and then the next time he is maybe trying to do it in a better way. Or if say, for example, they have to draw something because it is EVS, it has science. In science we need to draw so many diagrams, so they are not able to draw, they are not able to draw in a proper way, they are not very creative. So the teacher is trying them to improve in that particular area, or their handwriting is not good, so the teacher is telling them how to write. So this is what we do under reflecting and acting. Okay. So next comes our chapter, that is the physical and chemical changes. And our learning objective is to be able to understand the difference between physical and chemical changes. So under this, what we are going to do, we are going to talk about physical and chemical changes. What are physical and chemical changes and how they are different from each other. Okay. Now there is a question for you guys. If you have to teach this in your classroom, how you will do it? Now you need to think in a way, if you have to do it as per this inquiry cycle, how you will do it. And then I will show you how we are going to do it, or how we are doing it in our Smile. So you can write down your answers in the chat box. I'm giving you 5 minutes of time. So I request you to write the 5 steps at the same time, then only send it to me. To take some examples, by example of ice, rubber band. So where are you going to do this? In which stage you are planning to give the example of ice or rubber band, leaves changing color? My question is, if you have to teach your children about physical and chemical changes, how you're going to do it in your class? by asking students to take a piece of paper and tear it in two pieces, by example of tearing the paper, burning through activity. So can anyone give me a complete answer? Rubber band physical change leads in chemical change, taking the soil, germination. Okay. Okay, let me tell you. So the first stage of inquiry cycle that we have is tuning in. So you all know that our lesson plan is based upon the 3 C's, that is connect, conduct and conclude. So here I will be telling you what will come under connect, which stage of inquiry is covered under connect, which stage of inquiry is covered under conduct, and which one is covered under conduct. You can see that in the headings here. So the first stage of inquiry cycle is tuning in or connect. Okay, so once educators or teachers, they have a good understanding about what they are going to teach, so they can make connections so that the children will have a strong understanding of the key concepts that we want to explore in the unit. So how we can do this? We can do this by brainstorming and sorting ideas for learning experiences. Okay, for example, in this lesson, we are going to talk about physical and chemical changes. So what I have done, I have asked some questions here. What happens when a balloon bursts? What happens when we press a clay ball? What are the changes you see in pencil when you sharpen it? Okay. So these are some of the questions which represent changes. After that, we again have tuning in, connect only. Okay. So you know that our book is based upon the big pictures. So we have so many illustrations in our book. And the purpose of these illustrations is to make the thinking of the children visible by doing VTR. So these illustrations are basically making a real life connection with the concepts, whatever concepts we are dealing with. For example, in this chapter, we are dealing with the concept of changes, physical and chemical changes, and it is a completely science topic. So what we have done, we have given an illustration where the teacher has taken the children to the science lab. And if we read the conversation is, I'm so excited since today is the science lab day. The boy is saying, I wonder what our teacher is going to teach us in the lab. The teacher is saying, now today we are going to perform some activities and observe changes in different things. Okay. So after this, after doing the VTR with them, where I asked them about this picture, their thinking, I'm asking them a simple question: what is a science lab, and what do we do there, or what are the things we do in a science lab, or what are the things we see in a science lab? So anything, any new word, because the children are in grade 3, 4, 5, they are not used to going to labs that frequently or that often. We I guess till grade 5 or grade 6 we do activities in the class itself. So we should ask the children, because in every school there is a science lab, and the children, if they have not gone there, we should take them there. But everyone knows what we do inside that lab. Okay. After that, the picture that I have given to my children. So the picture that we have given in the book, we are doing a VTR strategy. So all of you know what are VTRs? What are VTRs? What are VTRs? Anyone? Visual thinking routines. So what are visual thinking routines? Where we are showing a picture to the child, and then we are asking the child to observe that picture and then comprehend his or her understanding. Now, how the child will be able to comprehend his or her understanding? It is with the help of some strategies which have steps, and step by step we are able to understand how much a child is able to think, how much a child is able to visualize or see in a picture, how much he is able to how he is able to link, what is his level of linking, is he able to think in a critical way, how he is going to explore. So this all is strategies about observation about the picture, then listing the things that he is able to see in the picture, and then linking the activities the teacher is doing, and then exploring. Okay, so then we have a question here. What do you think is happening in the lab? Share your observations. Okay. After this, it is not that we have given these activities here. We are going to do these activities with the children in the class. The activities that we have given in the VTR, because inquiry based learning involves experiential learning. It is a student-led or child-centric classroom. It is not a teacher-led classroom where teacher is doing everything. No. Here, the children have to participate equally. So each and every component that we have given, we are trying to do those things experientially with our children. So for example, we had 3 activities here. One activity, if you will see in the picture, this activity is of pressing the balloon. This activity is of pouring the liquid from the bottle, juice from the bottle to the glass, and this activity is of opening the can. So how I am going to do this activity with my learners? I am asking them to make groups. So why groups? Because NEP or NCF, it focuses upon collaboration. So I want my children to collaborate with each other, so that they become team players. So this is a group activity. They are taking a balloon and then they are pressing the balloon with both their hands. It is not only with one hand, with both their hands. And then they are noting down their observations. Then in the second activity, what they are doing, they are taking a can, and after taking the can, they are pouring the drink in the glass, whatever drink the can has. So when they are opening it, I am asking my children, why do we hear the sound on opening can? Then I am asking them, when they are pouring the drink and the can is empty now, I am asking them what happens to the shape of the can on crushing. Am I able to crush the can or not? Okay. So it is not, I'm just asking them these questions. I'm asking them to, I want them to conclude also, so that they are able to develop the scientific temperament. They are able to think in a scientific way, and they need to differentiate or distinguish between the observations and conclusions. So observations, so you know that scientific skills are very important when we are teaching them science. So observations is something what they observe, and conclusion is something after observing that, what is the understanding that they derived from that observation, what are they concluding from it. So now I have questions for you. So we have 3 activities, right? So what happens? I'm going back to the page. So what can you conclude from the first activity? The first activity where I am pressing the balloon. So what do you think, what will happen to the balloon and why it will happen? My first question was, we are doing this activity with the learners. The balloon will change in shape. It will change in shape, burst due to pressure. So if you will see in the picture, it is not bursting because we are applying the pressure from both the sides. Physics chai, what is this? Change in shape. When it is pressed, changes shape. My question is, why it changes shape? I'm not asking whether it is a physical change or a chemical change. My question is why the balloon is changing its shape. Because see, when we are teaching them, it is not, if I'm teaching them about physical and chemical change, I have to stick to the physical and chemical change. No, we need to link one concept with the other concepts also, one topic with the other topics also. Okay, pressure is one thing, one word that I want from you, because we have here EVS, science, social science teachers. So you should be able to understand, answer me this. See, when we press the balloon with both hands, we are applying the balanced forces because we are pressing it both the hands. So shape of the balloon is changing because of the balanced force that is acting upon it. It is not due to the pressure, it is because of the balanced force that is I have the answer force. So it is because of the balanced force. So we have balanced and unbalanced forces. If we have unbalanced forces, in that case the balloon will burst. But here we have the balanced force, so balloon will not burst in this case. Okay. Now second question I had, opening of the can. So whenever we open the can, what happens? It makes a fizz sound or a pop-up sound comes. Why that sound comes? Why that sound comes? Because of gas. Because we know that the soft drink, it contains dissolved carbon dioxide gas. And carbon dioxide, it is not soluble in liquid. It does not get easily soluble in liquid. So what happens? We have to, once we are putting this carbon dioxide gas inside the can, once we are filling it with greater pressure. So once we are opening the can, the pressure is released. So because of that pressure, it produces a fizz sound. Okay. And next is the can crushing. Why we are able to crush the can? Why we are able to crush the can, guys, fast? Anyone? Air can be compressed, which is present inside. Okay, now my question is, we already discussed that space. See, a can is crushed because if I will talk about the pressure, the can is empty and the outside pressure is greater than the pressure present inside. So because of this pressure difference, the can is not able to withstand the force that I am applying to it. So that is why when we squeeze a can, because the outside pressure is greater, the external pressure is greater than the inside pressure, that is why it gets crushed. Okay, so this is the tuning in. So are you able to now relate how I am connecting the physical and chemical changes with different concepts? And then in our book, we have tuning in. See, the purpose of the Let's Begin section is to check the prior knowledge, which is a part of the tuning in. Then we have a tuning in section in our book by the name tuning in itself. It is to whatever concepts I have taught to my learners, whatever previous knowledge that I have, through tuning in section, I am trying to link that previous knowledge with the new concept that I want my learners to know. So here what I am doing, I'm showing this picture, I'm again doing a VTR with them, and I'm asking them some questions here. So for example, here we have most of the things present in the world around us, air we breathe, water we drink, food we eat, are made of matter. So I'm asking my children, what is matter? Is ball a matter? Is sadness a matter? Why or why not? Okay. Then next, I'm asking them to make a group again, and then they need to list down 10 solids, 10 liquids, and 5 gases. Okay. And then I'm asking them again, I'm providing them with a pencil, which is a solid, a glass filled with water, and a balloon filled with air. So solid, liquid, and gas. And then I'm trying to explore the properties of these materials. So now what are they trying to do? They are trying to change the shape, check the shape, the size. Will it get compressed or not? How the volume will change? Will the volume will change or not? Is it fluid or not? So different properties I mentioned here, and now I want them to check. And after that, I am asking my learners to fill in this chart. So I'm not directly telling them to complete the table by listing the properties of matter. For that, what I am doing, I am giving them the experience. So they are doing it experientially. So when they do anything with experientially and the reflection is involved, the learning remains for lifelong. Okay, this is the first stage of the inquiry. Now comes the second stage of the inquiry, which is finding out, and according to my lessons, it is conduct. So, finding out is basically under this section what we do. We plan activities, we provide reading material to the learners, we engage them in some research work, and we let them share their experiences with each other. And we also make them note down their findings so that it takes their thinking deeper. So under this section, finding out, there is a VTR given here. So the whatever VTR is given here, I am doing an activity along with it. So VTR is stop crushing the filter paper. How will we use it? The girl is saying, do not get angry. It is just a physical change. We can press the filter paper and use it again. So if you will see that in grade 5, the child is going to learn this physical and chemical changes for the first time. So when he will hear the word physical change, he will not be able to make connections so easily. So that the child is able to retain, or the child is able to retain this knowledge, what a physical change is, I am giving him a simple example of crushing the paper. So by this, the child will be able to relate how many things can be example of a physical change. And then I am doing this small activity also with them, where I am providing them with ice, a clay ball and ribbon. And then I am asking them to notice the change in the ice after 5 minutes, press the clay ball and take a ribbon and cut it into pieces. And then they need to write down, complete this table. Okay. Okay. After this, this again forms a part of the finding out only. Finding out is basically gathering information. Then I'm teaching them about physical changes. Then I'm asking some questions related to it. After that, I'm teaching them chemical changes. And then I'm asking them, did you ever ride on a noisy swing? Have you seen metallic things turning reddish brown? So the girl is sitting on this swing and it is making a creaky sound. And why that sound is produced? Because of rust. So I'm trying to get that information from the learners. After this, before teaching about the chemical change, I'm doing a small activity with my learners. I'm taking an incense stick and I'm burning it. And then I'm asking them to write the cause of the change and description of the change. So if I will ask you what is the cause of this change and how will you describe this change, can anyone write it down can you write it down in the chat box? What is the cause of this change and what is how will you describe this change in your own words? What is the cause of this change and how you will describe it? Anyone? Causes fire, cause of change, burning, or we can say chemical change. Okay. And why? How you will describe this change? Can anyone describe this change? See, when we burn an incense stick, what happens? First of all, a pleasant smell is produced. That is the first thing that we will observe or we will feel. And why that smell is produced? Because certain chemicals are being released into the air. Once the incense stick burns completely, all the gases are released. What is left behind? It is only ashes. And we cannot recombine the gases and the ash to get back the original incense stick. So that is why it is a chemical change. This is how I will describe this chemical change. Okay. So next example is of a banana. So I took a fresh banana and a spoiled banana, like it is like rotten bananas. So I'm asking the children to write the cause of change. So what is the cause of change here? Over ripening. And how you will describe this change? Can anyone give me see, bananas have a very strong smell. Can anyone tell me why that strong smell? What kind of smell does bananas have if they are overripe? What kind of smell do they have? Do they have a good smell or a bad pungent smell? Right. Okay. And why bananas have such a strong smell? If you will keep anything near bananas, it will have the same smell. Why so? Anyone? See, if I have to describe this stage, first of all, I will say that the fresh bananas, they will be smelling good. There will be a fresh smell from the bananas. Ethylene, no, they do not release ethylene. They release an ester, which is known as isoamyl acetate. Because of that ester present in the banana, which is volatile in nature, it gets transferred easily from one object to the another object. Okay. Okay, after this, once we have done this activity, we ask children to share their observations and then we discuss it in the class. Whatever I discussed with you, I will discuss the same things depending upon the level of the children. I will not use the word ester, but I will tell them why it has a strong smell. Okay, so all this comes under finding out. Then I will teach them what exactly your chemical changes are, then some questions, then I will show them a video. Then I will ask them some questions related to this video. Okay, so I'm not showing the video. So do you want to see the video, yes or no? Okay, so let's see the video.
No matter where you are.
Are you able to hear it?
Things are changing.
Okay, are you able to hear the audio? Okay, fine.
Changing all around you. Whether it's plants growing or logs burning, or even if you're just eating food, the materials around you are changing in size, shape, and structure, releasing or absorbing energy and creating new substances. In chemistry, most changes are divided into two categories: physical changes and chemical changes. Physical change is something that changes the physical properties of an object or substance, like size, shape, or form. Cutting a piece of cloth is an example of a physical change. Even though the cloth changes shape and size when it is cut, it does not create a new substance. It's still cloth. Even if the pieces of cloth are sewn together and made into a shirt, only physical changes have occurred. The shirt is still made of the same substance as the original cloth, just in a new form. Another type of physical change involves changing states of matter, and water is a great example of this. Ice melts and becomes water, and water evaporates to become steam. But no matter its form, the water is still water. One way we can tell this is a physical change is that the change can be undone. Water vapor can condense back into liquid water, and liquid water can be frozen back into ice without changing to a different substance. In fact, many physical changes can be undone. For example, we know that dissolving sugar into water is a physical change, because even though the sugar and the water are mixed together, they do not combine and create a new substance. They are still just sugar and water, and they can be separated from each other. Not all mixtures are as simple to separate as sugar and water. When you mix butter, sugar, flour, and eggs, there is not a practical way to separate them again, but it is still only a physical change. The chemical change occurs when you put your mixture in the oven and add heat. Baking has many of the indications of a chemical change. The mixture in the oven absorbs heat. It also changes color and produces an odor. Gases are released, which is what helps the baked goods to rise. Finally, this change cannot be undone. You can't unbake a cake. Chemical changes occur when the particles of two or more substances are rearranged to form a new substance.
Okay, so how was the video? So what was the video about? What did you learn from it? And were you able to understand how physical changes are different from the chemical changes? So many changes that we think are chemical changes, but they are in reality a physical change only. Right. So when we show any video to the learners, we can give these videos as a flipped classroom also. We can share the link with the learners. We can ask them go home, watch the video, and next day once they are coming, in order to check that whether they have watched the video or not, what we can do, we can ask them to we can ask them some questions to so that they can reflect upon their learning. So if you will see that under finding out, what we did some small activities with the learners. Right. After doing the small activities, we gave them some information, then showed a video so that they are able to understand. So this finding out section is about gathering information, doing exploration, sharing their ideas. Then next stage of inquiry, which is sorting out, it also forms a part of conduct in our curriculum. So this sorting out is what it helps in the assessment of understanding. What my child has understood, that I will be able to assess through this. So when I am teaching them about a topic, then I am asking them some questions which are based upon the knowledge and understanding. So if you will see in planning ahead, we spoke about the to check, to assess the knowledge and understanding of the learners. So how I am going to assess the knowledge and understanding of the learners? With the help of this quick check section. Okay. Then I have a curiometer where I'm giving some extra information to the learner, and then based upon that information, I am asking him some questions. So here I'm asking how painting an iron object helps to reduce the damage of rusting. So how does it help? Because if anything, why does rusting takes place at the first place? Because of the action of air and water on the any metal. Then if we are painting it, so painting prevents the direct contact of this water and air with the object, as a result of which rusting is prevented. Okay, so like this I am discussing it with the child, and then I'm first getting taking answers from them. For example, here I am making groups, and then I am asking them to discuss and share more ways to prevent rusting. So I'm extending also their learning here along with asking the questions. Then under this, then next section is going further. So under going further, what we are doing, we are making connections, we are integrating other subjects into it. So this going further stage is about giving more responsibility to the learners. Okay. And this helps learners to apply their skills. For example, in maths, they learned about angles, measuring angles. Now I gave them a small activity here, which involves the integration of art and math. So what they have to do, they have to take a paper, they have to fold it. They basically have to make a paper plane. And then how they have to do, the steps are given here. And all these steps, how they have to do this, how they have to use the protector, that we have explained them. I will show you that on the next stage. And after that, what we are doing, we are asking them to measure the angles at each stage, and then we are asking them some questions which will comprehend their understanding about the physical changes, about the changes, whether the change is reversible or irreversible. So are you able to see how the connection is being made? We used art, we integrated math, and then we asked a question from the science concept also that we taught them. So this is how inquiry happens. So if you will see here, I have given the steps also to the learners, how to measure angle with protector, so that if somebody does not know or they do not recall, so the children are not left alone. So that is why under going further stage, we are giving responsibility to the students, but we are guiding them also. We are telling them about the steps, how they have to go about it. Okay. After that, the next one is going further, we do an activity. So the activity is about a matchstick and a candle. So they need to ignite the matchstick and they need to tell which one is the physical change and which one is the chemical change. So can anyone tell me, when we ignite the matchstick and light the candle, observe the candle for some time, so what will be the physical change that you will be able to notice, and what will be the chemical change? During this activity, what physical or chemical change you will be able to notice? Anyone? So the physical change, wax becomes to liquid form. Okay, anybody else? Melting of wax, physical, burning of wax, chemical, right? So the physical change occurs when the wax of candle melts and loses its shape. It gets accumulated at the bottom. And the chemical change will happen when the combustion of that wax will take place in presence of oxygen, which will lead to the emission of carbon dioxide gas. That will be the chemical change. Okay. So again, how we are doing this going further, we are now linking it with English. After that, the last stage of inquiry cycle is reflection and action. So once they are done with the topic, we need to understand whether they have understood it or not, what they have understood. So this is a 3-to-1 pyramid. So this is again a VTR. In this, what we do, we ask them to write one new word that they learned from this unit, any 2 interesting facts that they come across, and 3 new learnings that have happened when they did this chapter. So this again will make the thinking or the understanding of the children visible to the teacher. Okay, so this reflection and action section is about reviewing, revising, and reflecting on what and how they learned. After that, we do this reflection and action through summing up also. Then through crossroad also. So crossroad is basically we are giving them a question and then we are asking them to give their opinion about it. For example, in this, if we will see, we are asking our learners, there are so many physical changes like cutting trees, constructing buildings, clearing patches. So do you think that all these changes are good? What these changes are doing to our environment? So they need to frame their opinion about it and tell. And if you will see the SDG goal here, we have integrated the sustainable development goals that the that the UN framed in 2015, keeping in mind the problems that the world was facing. So NEP also focused upon these SDG goals. So you can see these SDG goals in our books also. So these SDG goals will make children aware about the problems that the world is facing, and they will try to solve those problems in real life. They will be at least able to understand those problems and frame their answers and think how they will be able to solve it. Another way of reflection and action is the blooming questions that is given in the book. So children discuss the answer to these questions. They get feedback from the teacher. If they are wrong somewhere, they take that feedback and then they act upon that feedback and improve. And again, reflection and action, it happens to the workbook also. Okay. If you will see the evaluation, which forms a very important part of any learning cycle, that is the assessments, how we are going to assess, how we are going to evaluate. So we have 3 types of assessments happening throughout the inquiry cycle, throughout our book, that is assessment for learning, which happens at the beginning of the section. So assessment for learning is with the help of your VTRs, with the help of the questions given in the Let's Begin and Tuning In section, and some extra probing or essential questions that we ask to the learners that helps us in assessing that helps us in doing the assessment for learning with the students. After that assessment as learning, it is a continuous evaluation that happens throughout the session. So for this assessment as learning, we have questions designed like quick check, some activities, linking chain, think aloud. So continuous assessment throughout the session, throughout the chapter, we are assessing them based upon it. And then assessment of learning happens at the end once the chapter is completed, and that happens with the help of the blooming questions, with the help of the worksheet, with the help of a summing up example. Okay, so this is about the inquiry cycle. Okay, So inquiry cycle is first what we do, we connect with the topic, then we make deeper connections, then we do the collaborative activities with them. We ask them to sort, make conclusions, assess and reflect upon their learning and take action. Okay. So now I have one last question for you guys. After this session, why do you think we should use inquiry-based learning? So I had this session planned for the near pod, but I will be doing it here only because all of you are not able to do it. So why do you think after this session, what was your understanding about inquiry-based learning from this? To foster curiosity, what else? Anybody else? To improve thinking skills, hands-on experience, learning through experiments, conceptual learning, development of critical thinking, enhanced learning skills, critical thinking, interest in particular topic and subject, group activity, thinking skills, problem solving, provoking questions, all concept clear, enhanced comprehensive learning, involvement of students, understanding subject matter more attractive, group activity. Okay, so let me conclude this. Inquiry-based learning, it pushes students learning beyond their capacity. It helps them to memorize, remember, and apply their knowledge to different domains. It helps them to make connection among ideas. It helps them to evaluate or challenge their ideas and additionally create something completely new. It evokes critical and creative thinking so students can develop their abilities to ask questions, design, investigate, interpret the evidences, form explanations. So students are basically able to improve their transferable skills through inquiry-based learning. So, and how they are able to improve these skills? By asking questions, by investigating, by discussing, by collaborating, by cooperating and reaching their own conclusions. So this is why we should use inquiry-based learning. So there is a chart also given here, 10 reasons to use inquiry-based learning. It nurtures student, empowers student voice, and honors student choice. It increases motivation and engagement, foster curiosity, teach grit, make research meaningful, enable students to take ownership, deepen understanding, to go beyond memorizing facts and content, then solve the problems of tomorrow in the classrooms of today. So this is all about inquiry cycle. So anyone has any questions? Please ask your questions.
Please write down your question in the chat box.
Thank you, Ms. Sujata. Thank you, Ms. Rekha. Any questions, guys? How can we cover up our syllabus in time, including this session guidelines in each and every chapter? See, you must be following. We have all the lessons planned for our chapters. So if you will follow those lessons are based upon, there is a timetable that has been provided to you, which is of 35 to 40 minutes. So each session is planned accordingly. So the things that I showed you today, the inquiry cycle that we learned, it was not for one day that I want you to do. It was for the whole chapter so that I can take you through the different stages. But for one particular day, we follow the 3C pattern, which is your connect, conduct, and conclude. It is being given in the lesson plans along with the conduction, how the teacher is able to conduct it. So if you are following the lesson plans, you will be able to do it, and the inquiry will be happening. See, in the beginning only I told you inquiry, it is a non-linear process. Though we call it as an inquiry cycle, there are stages, but you can enter inside the cycle and you can exit the cycle anytime. So it is not necessary in one day you have to complete all the 5 stages of inquiry cycle. But yeah, we have divided these 5 stages into 3C. We have for each day connect, where we are connecting the child with their previous knowledge or what they already learned. Then under conduction, we are making them do the activity, or we are transferring the information to them. And then whatever we have transferred, there is a reflection happening through the conduct. So if you are following the lesson plans, you will be able to do it. Any other question? Thank you, everyone.
Thank you so much, ma'am. And I think we should start our assessment.